Luis Rubiales.
Luis Rubiales.
Luis Rubiales.
Luis Rubiales.
Luis Rubiales.
Luis Rubiales.
We all know this man's name, right? Because he's all over the news for what he did. Now, how many champions of Spain's national team can you name? Whatever the answer is, it's not as many as you should know, because this man has taken over the entire public awareness that Spain just won the World Cup only 8 years after qualifying for their first ever World Cup. Luis Rubiales has stolen the spotlight of this fantastic achievement from the players who deserve it most. He has condemned Jenni Hermoso to a lifelong association of the kiss, instead of her being known as a world champion. His actions following the kiss have been just as telling, as he claims that Hermoso has lied about the kiss, and he claims that she was the one who picked him up. Does this man not know that everything was caught on camera? And the story that keeps on giving has reached deranged levels, as his mother has locked herself in a church, declaring a hunger strike because of the inhuman and bloody persecution of her son. Has there ever been a World Cup with worse vibes? Rubiales' uncle has come out saying that Luis has used the Spanish Federation's money to host sex parties. It makes you wonder if Spain had not won the World Cup, if any of these claims would have surfaced. With the Spanish FA initially threatening to leave UEFA if Rubiales is removed as president, and UEFA calling their bluff, the Spanish FA have quickly made a 180 on their statement and requested the resignation of Luis Rubiales. It really opened the eyes for many individuals on how hard federations, companies, and individuals are willing to defend abusers when the abusers are popular or powerful. Like what Manchester United were ready to do with Mason Greenwood, who, like Rubiales, had evidence of their abuse publicised and yet still had the apparent right to do these actions defended by those around him. The Spanish FA must have understood that their bid for the 2030 World Cup must have been under threat and quickly turned their back on Rubiales 24 hours after applauding him. This is all 12 months removed from 15 of Spain's players emailing the Spanish FA to have manager Jorge Vilda removed as coach of the national team. Vilda, who apparently had a rule in place where players must leave their hotel doors open at all times for late night tactical visits. Now in support of Jenni Hermoso, more than half of Vilda's coaching staff have resigned in condemnation of Rubiales' actions. Along with this, over 80 international players and counting, including the entire world champion national team, have claimed to not play any further international games until changes are made with Rubiales. The hashtag Se Acabó and Contigo Jenni are gaining a big following as many players come together in support of Jenni and pressure the higher powers of Spanish football. The prosecutor's office of Spain's National Court have now opened criminal proceedings against Luis Rubiales for a possible crime of SA. All of this comes against the backdrop of the new law enacted in Spain late last year, the Solo Si es Si law, which defined this crime as all non-consensual sexual encounters. It even outlawed wolf whistling or catcalling at women. Feminism has been a central tenet of the Spanish government's policies, so it will push forward on this. Yet the Spanish Federation are doubling down on their support for Rubiales, who expressed that he will not resign. In this General Assembly, female staff members of the Spanish Football Association were made to sit in the front rows in order to make it seem as if the women were in support of Rubiales. The charges, accusations, and possible 15-year suspension of Rubiales has shadowed the achievement of not just the Spanish team, but the global event that the Women's World Cup had become in Australia and New Zealand. With record-breaking numbers of viewers and fans attending each game, the momentum of women's football is continual and unstoppable. As more people get exposed to the highest level of women's football, it attracts more people to the sport, which progressively enhances the quality of the sport. With more players, higher quality, and more eyes, UEFA reports have predicted that the revenue generated from the women's game will increase by over 400% in the next 10 years. Send this to someone who needs to learn about Rubiales' actions, then watch this video on how much Premier League legends would go for nowadays.